Hello, Internet. It is I, the Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Recaps. So, we are now a month and a half into 2025, so it's about time I make my first 2025 recap video on this channel. We are, of course, kicking it off with the month of January. So, January 2025, how was it? Was it good? No, not really. No. It was a very uninteresting month, to say the least. I'd argue the announcement of the Nintendo Switch 2 outshined everything that released in January, which should really tell you a lot. But it was better than last year. That's mainly because there were more movies this year compared to last year. And plus, there were better December holdovers than the previous year. So, I mean, that's good, at least. But still, January was a month that I will forget about in a few months' time. So, yeah, but I guess before we get into the 2025 movies, I might as well mention a movie that came out near the end of 2024 that managed to save itself. So, excuse the me scrolling, but feel like I should mention it. Mufasa, okay. Okay, so Mufasa came out the same day as Sonic 3, right before Christmas. Had a really terrible opening weekend of 35 million, which was laughable compared to 2019 movies, 191 million. So a lot of people, including me, immediately labeled this movie a flop, immediately labeled it a bomb, and that Sonic 3 was gonna like solo it and just destroy it, and it did for a little bit. But then as time went on, things started to change. Mufasa actually found itself an audience that's been pretty consistent ever since it released. To the point where instead of being like way behind Sonic 3, it has now surpassed Sonic 3 in box office. It's still going strong, even in the month of February. And it's now made 238 million domestically, which still doesn't hold a candle to, the live action, well, not the photorealistic Lion King movie and the original anime Lion King movie. It doesn't hold a candle to those. But by its own standards, these numbers aren't bad at all, especially its worldwide total. So this movie managed to pull an Elemental and save its own ass from being a flop. So that has to be commended. And it was actually number one at the box office twice in January. The first weekend of the year and then the third weekend of the year. The third weekend was really unexpected. So, I guess I'll, say, Mufasa, you saved yourself. I don't like that you did that, but you did it. So, good for you, I guess. But Sonic 3 is still a hit. So now instead of having like a hit and a bomb, you have like technically two hits that come out at the end of the year, which really helped out January. Then you got movies like Nosferatu and A Complete Unknown also doing decent in January. And yeah, I wanted to mention that first. But now on to the actual 2025 movies, and I need to go back just a bit. Yeah, okay, now we're back. So, as usual, I'm going to be comparing my own personal predictions to what actually happened because I find that to be interesting and fun. So, let's get started. So, I thought there were no movies coming out January 3rd. That's what I believed. That's what it looked like. But apparently, a movie like snuck in there at the last minute, The Damned, made like $1 million. I don't think anyone remembers it, so I guess I could talk about it for a brief moment. Like, it came out, literally came and went, and yeah, it's really it. So we're moving right along to January 10th. Okay. So I talked about Better Man first, but let's talk about Better Man first because good fucking God, this movie did just awful. Awful. So horrific that it's crazy. So, Better Man, the movie about Robbie Williams, where instead of the human Robbie Williams, the movie decides to portray him as a chimpanzee. And yeah, like I knew this thing was gonna struggle because first of all, the movie, presented like the subject where you have Robbie Williams portrayed as a chimpanzee. I mean, it was different. I was like, okay, it's certainly different. I can respect that, but I knew it would be a turnoff for a lot of people. I knew people would find it a little too odd, a little too weird. So I knew that was gonna happen. And there's also the fact that Robbie Williams, like, he's like a British pop star. In the U.S., no one knows who the fuck he is. Like, do you know? Does anyone in the States know who he is? No, no. It's the same issue that the Amy Winehouse biopic movie dealt with, where Amy Winehouse, sure, she was big in the UK, but in the States, no. She never had a big following in the States. And the same very much applies to Robbie Williams. That's actually worse than Amy Winehouse in terms of popularity. So yeah, I knew there was going to be some big issues this movie was going to have to deal with. But then when it came out in like limited release, like you think limited release with this one to be like an awards flick, you think limited release would be like so much strong, right? Maybe like a 50K per theater average, 100K per theater average. This thing got a 3K per theater average. 3K. And the second we get 4K. It literally made only 100,000 in 6 theaters, 16 days. I have seen movies make more in limited release in 1 day compared to Better Man. So that right there should say that there were some serious issues. Like just like look at these numbers, like for an awards movie, these are fucking abysmal. Like this, you want numbers at least a good 10 times higher than this. Right? That's what you'd want. I mean, look at The Brutalist for comparison's sake. I mean, I know I'm going to talk about The Brutalist later, but I might as well just show it to you now, that I can show you how things are supposed to be. Look at that, 66K, 30K, 30K. This is much better. This is what should happen. But Better Man did so much worse. It was insane. And when it actually opened wide, I predicted an opening weekend of like $1 million because that's what was projected. And a final total of like 2 to 3 million. And lo and behold, it only made $1 million. And then it fell off a cliff the next weekend, predictably. 75% drop off. But let me show you like the opening weekend. Like this thing fell 47% Friday to Saturday, which is just horrific. That's a drop on par with Joker 2. Granted, Joker 2 fell a lot harder, throughout its life, but still just horrific. Absolutely horrific. They didn't even make 2 million total. And one would think this movie would do much, much better internationally, considering, Robbie Williams is from, the UK. You think they would give a shit. Nope. It bombed there too. So it's a universal failure. And what's worse is that this movie cost over $110 million. Yes. 110 million makes 2 million domestically. This is some Pluto Nash this is a Pluto Nash-esque bomb in my eyes. Like, that's just insane. So, yeah, this was the first major bomb of 2025. It was a bomb I saw coming a mile away. But just the way it happened was just mind-blowing in the worst way possible. So, yeah. Yeah, and apparently, reviews and word of mouth wasn't bad. It was just the fact that, everything else was working against it. No one knew who Robbie Williams was. The whole presentation of the movie just turned people off. It's just this movie was doomed to fail. It was, and it did in spectacular fashion. So yeah, and I should mention that this is like one of two like awards movies Paramount had. It was like this, and I think it was September 5th or September 5th. I thought that was supposed to be like a wide release. It never got to that point because that movie was tanking too. So I guess they just cut their losses and just let it die. So yeah, they really hit a Paramount really hit a gutter ball with their award season flicks. So they got Sonic 3 though, so at least they have that. So yeah, so that was better, man. Next up, Den of Thieves 2. Okay. Opening weekend, I predicted like 14 to 16 million. Final total like 40, 45 million. It hit 15 million. So I was right there. It was number one that weekend, giving Lionsgate their first number one opening since 2023. The last movie being Hunger Games: Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So right there, that's superior to all of their 2024 movies. Its legs were have not been very good at all. It's only made like 35 million total, 55 million worldwide. So it didn't hit my expectations. And it did worse, quite a bit worse than the first movie. But to my surprise, a third movie has actually been greenlit. I guess Lionsgate was just bored or something. So yeah, I mean, I guess in that way it's a success, but not really. Or maybe they just know a good amount of the money this movie's gonna make is not gonna be from theaters, but from like, you know, ancillary markets, PVOD and streaming and all that jazz. Like I guess to them that's where the real money is. So yeah, I mean, Den of Thieves 2 didn't do great at all, but it was number one, so you can brag about that. It wasn't the only Lionsgate movie, in January to be number one, though. I'll talk about the other one later. But yeah, Den of Thieves 2, just kind of came out. um, let's see. Game Changer. I didn't talk about this. I didn't make a prediction video for it because I didn't know what to say. It only made like 2 million its opening weekend, so yeah, not really much to say. Last Showgirl. Okay, so this I predicted an opening weekend of like $1 million or so. Final total of like 3, 4, 5 mil. I don't remember exactly. And it hit 1.5 million opening weekend, and it's made 4.6 million total. So I guess it reached my expectations. Not like my expectations were very high, but I guess it could have been worse. I guess. I mean, this movie was very much like built to be like a Pamela Anderson like showcase to get her like an Oscar nom. That didn't happen. So that's kind of a tough break, but I guess for what it is, it did all right. So yeah, that was January 10th. Now on to January 17th. Let's talk about one of them days. Now, my weekend prediction, I predicted 11 million for 3 days, 13 million for 4 days because it was a holiday, and a final total by 30 to 40 million dollars. And it hit 11.8 million. It was looking like ugh, trying to my thought process my train of thought was going off the rails for a moment. But like the race to number one was looking real interesting the weekend this released because I thought for the longest time Wolfman was going to be number one. I thought that was guaranteed. But as it got closer to the weekend, it seemed like that wasn't going to be the case because Wolfman was crumbling when it came to word of mouth. Although one of them days was flourishing in the same department, so it had more momentum on its side, and it resulted in being number two that weekend. It was almost number one, almost lost just by a little bit. So yeah, yeah. So it was. I think for like estimates, like it was number one just for a bit until like actual numbers came out and it ended up being number two. But yeah, 11.8 million. It hit it. It made 14 million over the holiday. So it hit my expectations. Its legs have been great. Fell 32% the following weekend, then 27%, then 52%. That's mainly because of Super Bowl. And then like Friday, it actually went up the previous, on the 7th, like on Valentine's Day, it actually went up from like the previous Friday. So now it's made 41.7 million on a budget of 14 million. That's solid. It's not spectacular, but it's solid. A solid little hit. And I heard how good word of mouth was, and that ultimately like convinced me to go watch it, and I did like a few days ago. And it was fun. It was a fun little buddy comedy that it's not surprising people like got into. I mean, like with Kiki Palmer and Zay Zay, I think that's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how she said her name. They had good chemistry, good camaraderie. Like, that's what you want out of a buddy comedy. Like if your two leads don't have chemistry, then what are you doing? You've already failed. But yeah, the movie was like fun. Wasn't like wasn't it was just like a fun comedy. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I can see why everybody else enjoyed it too. So yeah, I'm glad one of them days did well. And yeah, I'm glad it was able to find an audience in theaters, especially considering how like just bleak comedy is when it comes to theatrical comedy. It's been real bleak the last few years. So yeah, but now we get to talk about Wolfman. Oof. Eek. Okay. Wolfman. I really thought this would be the big hit of January. I really did. Because, this is from the director of The Invisible Man, a movie that I saw like in January. I finally watched it after like 5 years. I found it like on Prime Video and I watched it there. That movie was fucking good, dude. That movie was fantastic. I can't believe I missed out on it when it released, although it would have been like in theaters for like 2 weeks because of COVID. But yeah, that movie was so good. So good. I couldn't recommend it enough. But I thought with that and like the fact that, this is like, a Blumhouse movie. And yeah, Blumhouse have had a lot of misses, but I thought the trailers looked all right. I thought this would be a hit, and Blumhouse has had success, in the past in January. I mean, look at Megan from 2023. That movie did fantastic back then. So I thought this movie would be a hit. It was not a hit, not at all. I predicted, well, originally I thought it would open like in the 20s, like the mid 20s. But as the release date got closer, word of mouth started to spread. Now, word of mouth was very negative. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have to drop my predictions. And then it reached a point where my prediction ended up being like 10 million for 3 day, 12 million for 4 day, and a final total by 25 to 30 million. Well, it hit 10.9 if you round it, 10.9 million for 3 day, and 12.3 million for 4 days. So I guess it more or less hit my prediction. But that's not a good thing. And then after that, this movie just crumbled. 70%, 65%, 76%. It's pretty much out of theaters at this point. Like, it is just gone. Just vanished. and only made like 20 million total domestically. Which, I mean, let's compare this to Invisible Man, a movie that literally was in theaters for like a few weeks before COVID causes it to, cause, every movie to just disappear. Invisible Man, let's look at it. Invisible Man, its opening weekend, 28.2 million. Invisible Man made more in 3 days than Wolfman made total. I mean, what else is there to say? And internationally, it didn't do well either. And it's a bit, apparently this movie cost like 25 million, so 34 million worldwide. That's a loss. And apparently Jason Blum, like he posted like a tweet about Wolfman's box office, like a sad, like a where he looked all sad, but then he like deleted it. I'm not sure what made him think that was a good idea to basically do that. I don't know what his thought process was. But yeah, this is another L for Blumhouse. They've had a lot of L's recently, and this is joining the pack. They need some hits like now more than ever. They need Megan 2 2.0 to be a hit. They need Black Phone 2, Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Those need to be hits. If they're not hits, then Blumhouse is kind of fucked right now. So yeah, they better hope Megan 2.0 really pops off when it comes out in June. But I mean, there's Woman in the Yard. I don't see that doing well. I don't think anyone's gonna care about that movie too much. So yeah, Wolfman, big old L for Blumhouse, and the whole month of January, and boy, just thinking back, like I really was a fool for thinking this would do well. So yeah, yeah, I took an L on this movie. And I didn't even watch it because that word of mouth convinced me. I was like, yeah, you know, I'm gonna stay home. I'm not gonna watch it, and so I didn't. Then there's Room Next Door. I didn't make a prediction video on this, so but I guess I'll talk about it for a brief moment. Apparently, it's made like a bit of money, not that much money, like $2 million. Can't really say much besides that. Okay, that was January 17th. January 24th. All right. Uh Brave the Dark. Let's talk about this first. From Angel Studios. I predicted an opening week of like 2.5 million. Final total like 5 to 7 million, I think. Well, it hit 2.2 million. Then it disappeared. It just disintegrated and only made like 4.4 million. So another L for Angel Studios, proven again and again that Sound of Freedom was an absolute fluke at the box office. So yeah. Uh I did talk about Colors Within, but apparently it wasn't a wide release, even though the numbers said it was. How many theaters was it in? 570 theaters. I should have made a video on it. Oh well. I guess I could talk about it. 300. I think I predicted like less than 500. I don't even remember what I predicted. Does it matter? I don't think it matters. I think it was less than a million opening weekend, like less than like a couple million like total, and it didn't even reach that. It only reached like 500K. Open with like 373K, and then it just look at that, just goddamn, it literally just turned into nothing in a mere 2 weeks. So it only made like 557K. So yeah, it literally just made no money at all. Flight Risk. This was the big, I'm using air quotes, big movie of the weekend. I predicted an opening weekend of like 11 to 12 million. Yeah, I think more like 11 million. I found total like 25 to 30 million. And well, it hit 11.5 million. So it did that. It's had pretty mediocre legs. I don't know how much it made on Friday, but it's made 26 million domestically. So it hit my range of expectations. I thought it would do a little worse, honestly, because word of mouth was horrible for this thing. Reviews were ass. Word of mouth was ass. Got like a C cinema score, I think. Like a C plus. Let me check. Yeah, a C cinema score, which is just awful for a movie like this. So the fact that it didn't drop like 60+% week two is a minor miracle. So yeah, but I don't know how much this costs. The 25 million. So these numbers aren't great, but it did give Lionsgate its second number one opening of 2025, which is more than they had in 2024, where they had zero. So I guess from like a PR perspective, that's good. But Flight Risk is going to be a loss at this rate, and yeah, I mean the movie looked like so goofy in a bad way from like the trailers. It just turned me off. Maybe I just not want to watch it, and I wasn't alone in that department. So yeah, and just the fact that this was from like Mel Gibson, like this was his first movie since like a Hacksaw Ridge, and he goes in to make this. Like, really? Like, I don't get it. But yeah, yeah, Flight Risk end up being a bit of a bust. So yeah, we got several more movies to talk about. I guess we could talk about Brutalist. Yeah, one of the big awards movies this Oscar season. As I mentioned earlier, I showed off like its limited run, had a strong limited run, and it went wide on really the 24th. And I predicted an opening weekend of like 2 to 3 million, and I found it sold like 20 million or so. And it's hit like 13.8 million so far. I don't think it'll reach 20. I think that's a little too ambitious at this point. But considering this movie only cost like I think it was like $6 million, these numbers aren't like terrible or anything. And it's also from like A24, so these numbers aren't like that terrible either. Especially considering this movie's long ass runtime. This movie is 2 hours and 15 minutes. That's 3.5 hours. Like that is a that is an endurance test for like the average moviegoer. And I know this movie did have like an intermission, like a 15-minute intermission, but still 3.5 hours. That's a lot for like the average moviegoer. So the fact that it made this much at all, I say, is an achievement by itself. So yeah, and its awards chances. I mean, I don't know if the AI controversy will like hurt its chances, but I mean, we'll see. I mean, certainly has a better shot winning, best picture than like say Amelia Perez. Like that movie's a fucking travesty. Like I don't need to go over what's going on with Amelia Perez. That whole movie, it's just train wreck after train wreck after train wreck. It's a clown show over there. Brutalist doesn't really have to deal with that, so it might still win some Oscars. So, but yeah, in theaters it did okay, I would say. What's next? Inheritance. Okay, I predicted an opening weekend of like less than like I think less than 500K. Found to less than a million. Like it only opened like 124,000. It made like not even 200K, which is just like, goddamn, why even release this at all, right? Like I don't get it. But yeah, came and went. That was Lexi. It came and went, and that was for like literally like a week. Well, technically like 2 weeks, but it was just gone. So it's almost like it never released at all. So yeah. And then we got Presents from Neon. I predicted an opening weekend of like 3 million, final total of like 6 to 7 million, and that's exactly what happened. It opened with 3.3 million, and it's currently made 6.8 million. The run is pretty much over at this point. So, I'll probably stick with around like 7 million. Budget was like 2 million, so I guess in a sense it was a success, but I thought it would do a little better cuz like before it released, it seemed like it was getting like some buzz online, but then people watched it and people were not happy with what they saw. People just a lot of people felt kind of like low key scammed because the movie, like, the marketing positioned it as a horror movie when it was really more like a family drama where like spirit, like a supernatural figure was just kind of just watching over the drama, and people were really pissed off. So yeah, that wasn't going to help this movie at all. But Steven Soderbergh, he tried something different. I mean, this man has a habit of just making movies in like basically all genres at this point, going from genre to genre, which is pretty impressive. Like most filmmakers just stick with like one genre. So the fact that he's going all over the place is commendable. But it just didn't work out that well here. So yeah. But I mean, it wasn't a flop or anything, but it didn't do that great. So that was January 24th. Now the 31st. Companion. Oh, this makes me sad. Really does. Because Companion was a movie of all the January movies that were coming out, this one I was excited to see the most because I thought the teaser trailer hooked me because it was one of those trailers where it told me fuck all, but it showed me enough to where like it piqued my interest. And so I was like, okay, this movie looks fucking crazy. I'm on board. Let's go. So it came out, reviews were great, and I watched it and I thought it was great. I really did. It's kind of a hard movie to describe, but just the way, it presented its story and just how everything worked, it was like low key a banger. Like it took like spoiler alert, I guess. I mean the trailer technically spoiled it, like the second trailer did, but the whole thing is that, uh what was her name? Iris, and Josh, like they have like this relationship, right? Typical relationship, and then you find out, oh, Iris is an android. She's not like real. See, I think in the movie they basically say, oh, Josh, you literally just bought yourself a fuck bot. So like you'd be in a relationship with. And then, shit goes down. And this kind of takes like the whole, human good, robot bad elements that a lot of these similar movies have, but they reverse it. So it's, the humans are very much the villains here. And the robot being, the android being, Iris, she's like the protagonist. Like, you want to root for her to get the hell away from Josh. So, yeah. And just the movie was just really interesting, and I'm really glad I watched it. Unfortunately, the movie didn't do well when it released because I predicted an opening weekend of like 11, 12 million, maybe like 10 to 11 million. I was hoping it would do better. Ended up opening with like 9.3 million. I was like, oh, well, that's disappointing. But I think maybe it'll have good legs. I predicted a final total of like 30 to 40 million. No, this movie just got crushed in week two, fell 68%, which definitely was a combination of Super Bowl just destroying all movies and just direct competition because you literally had like another horror movie come out in the form of Hard Eyes. So that wasn't going to help. And the fact that, but like, what else caused this movie to not do as well as it could have? Well, as I said, it's kind of a hard movie to describe, a hard movie to explain, and that could lead to a like a smaller net of people like willing to, give it a chance because no one really knew what the plot was until like the last minute. But so there was that, and there's also the fact that the teaser trailer for this was attached to Joker 2. Now, like, if Joker 2 was a hit, then this would have been great for Companion, but Joker 2 was literally the biggest bomb of 2024. So having your trailer attached to a movie that no one saw and actively avoided, it didn't turn out well. Similar to what happened with Respect, how the teaser trailer for that movie was attached to Cats, which was a real bad call in hindsight. I mean, that was before COVID, caused it to like, get delayed and everything. But yeah, when you attach your teaser trailer to a movie, you better attach it to a successful movie, a big movie, because if you don't, then less people are going to pay attention to it. So that's something to note. But yeah, it's only made like 17.6 million. It might reach 20. I mean, the movie only cost like $10 million, so it's not like a huge bomb. But I was really hoping it would do better because it looked cool, it was cool, and the fact that it's not doing better just upsets me. I do hope this movie finds a cult following. I think it will. I think it will absolutely find like a second life, and because that's what it deserves. So yeah, that was Companion. Okay, but now for like the big movie of the weekend, the big movie of January, where it was not Wolfman, no, not Wolf, it was Dog Man, which is funny because wolves, dogs, kind of similar in a lot of ways. So I guess it's kind of fitting. But Dog Man, I predicted an opening weekend of like 33 million, final total of like 100 to 125 million. It hit 36 million, which I thought, I'm like, damn, okay, that's really good. Especially for like the beginning of the year for like January standards. I mean, like it was a lot better than like the Captain Underpants movie, considering this is like a spin-off to that. So I thought that'd be great. Okay, this would be an easy 100 million movie. And then week 2 happened. This dropped 62%. And I was shocked because this is a family movie. And unless this is like post holiday or something, like post Thanksgiving, there's no reason for a family movie to drop 60+%. So the fact that it did, even with like the Super Bowl hurting it, that really surprised me. So I was just thinking, what the hell happened here? Because reviews and word of mouth don't explain this. So maybe it's like a fan thing. Maybe it was just fan driven, and that's what caused it to like kind of fall off. That's what I believe. Because yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But its third Friday is going a lot better thanks to Valentine's Day. Its third weekend will be much better, so it will recover. But I don't know if it'll reach 100 million. I feel like that's kind of off the table now. Like if it had like a better second weekend, then 100 million would still be on the table. But because it crashed in week 2, it's not going to happen anymore. But the movie only cost like $40 million, so it doesn't need that much to be a hit. So at least they were smart with like the budget. But yeah, it is undisputably like the biggest movie of January by a good, by a solid margin. So, congratulations, Dog Man. You were the winner of January. Good for you. So, yeah, then one last movie, not Green and Gold. I'm not going to talk about that. One last movie to talk about, Valiant One. I predicted an opening weekend of like I don't even know what it was, like less than 500K, 500 a million. The final total like 2 million. I don't know. I don't care. No one else cares either. Only up with like 335K, and it's made like 1.2 million. Second weekend was awful. It's out of theaters at this point. And yeah, no one will remember or care about it. And that was January. So yeah, again, not a very exciting month. So now we're in February. February started out the same way as January, where it wasn't exciting at all. Then this weekend, I mean, you got Captain America: Brave New World, which had a solid opening day. I don't know about its longevity though, considering word of mouth and post holiday factors and all that. But it will be the biggest movie of 2025. It'll be the first to reach 100 million, so it's got that to look forward to. Then the rest of February, The Monkey, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I definitely will watch it. I feel like it could overperform. I feel like it could do really well, considering this is from the guy who made, Long Legs. And the fact that the second trailer, apparently did like really well, like view count wise. So I think The Monkey has a real shot at being a breakout hit. Unbreakable Boy, no. And then you have Last Breath, which no one really cares about. And that's basically February. I mean, Captain America: Brave New World will be the only reason why February will be better than January. That movie and nothing else. So, yeah. Yeah, so that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn on notifications, share the whole drill. We'll check out more videos like this. I got playlists on the homepage, all previous recap videos I made on the channel. My February recap, that'll be within like the first 2-ish weeks of March, so stay tuned for that as well. But if you want to watch any of my past recap videos on the channel, you can go right ahead. There's also box office predictions where I predict box office for movies. Almost every movie I talked about here, I made a prediction video for. So if you want to watch any of those videos or any other prediction videos I made this year, past few years, want to watch any of them, go right ahead. There's also the canceled series where I went over all the movies that were supposed to come out but didn't. It's 250 episodes. Want to binge watch that whole thing, go right ahead. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.